police officer tells you you're under arrest, you're supposed to comply, okay? Apparently this man didn't comply. When the officer, when he saw him starting to get a little restless, all right, the officer came behind him, and basically that's not a chokehold. I used to wrestle, that's not a chokehold, all right? That is a kind of hold where you can take a large man like that down.
All right, folks, and the man with all the common sense, and when he's on a CNN panel, he's usually the only person with common sense. Harry Houck, retired NYPD detective, 25-year veteran of law enforcement. Great to see you, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for bringing me here,
You're my
Steve.
hero after last night with Sonny Houston and all that back and forth. She banned me from her Twitter account, but we'll get to that later on in another segment. What is it about what you said that people refuse to understand? But having said that, what is it about you don't hit a cop after robbing a store and run from a cop and disobey him and then charge him head down and you get killed that people don't understand? So I think this is a whole manufactured crisis, if you will.
Well, no doubt it's a manufactured crisis, and I think it all started in Ferguson, all right, and where Mr. Al Sharpton himself, you know, started this whole thing and made everything a racial issue. This is not a racial issue, and what a lot of people don't understand is a chokehold is not against the law. I don't think that's been told on television for 15, 20 times, and people are still saying it's against the law. It's not against the law. This officer did not use a chokehold. That move that he made on that man, I've done 100 times. It's called a takedown, all right? You take a large man down like that. I don't know how anybody's going to expect a police officer, all right, 1, 2, or 3, to take a man down that size, all right, that does not want to be arrested. And like somebody earlier said, you know, which I have to repeat, is that when a police officer tells you you're under arrest, it's not a request.
Right.
It's got to happen.
Right. It's not a conversation.
Exactly.
It's not a conversation. You have to submit. Put your hands behind your back. He said, leave me alone. That's an indication. And when they say, and these are stupid questions, but in this context of what's going on, cops, when they say unarmed, until a suspect, correct me if I'm wrong or tell me if I'm right, until a suspect is cuffed, and you could pat him down, you don't know you must assume he's armed, right?
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of people don't understand that because now, you know, we know what happened after the fact. But when you're a police officer in the morning getting up to go to work, all right, you know there's a possibility you might not come home that night. All right, and the fact that police officers are killed in little instances like this all the time for minor things. Somebody will pull out a gun, somebody will pull out a knife. So an officer sees that and says to himself, you know what, I'm going to be super careful, you know, especially when you're dealing with a guy that size.
Yeah, now in my opening remarks, I'm not comparing Ferguson to this. They're two separate incidences. Exactly. And I don't believe that, you know, that you could expect to die from being arrested, even resisting arrest. Right, but exactly. And here's the other thing. 60 exhibits, you know, 50 witnesses, medical reports. And the media and you and I don't know any of it.
Exactly.
Yet everybody's making a decision and weighing in and saying how unjust this was.
Steve, let me tell you something.
How it was murder.
How is it, okay, that nobody trusts the grand jury? There isn't any iota of evidence that there's any misconduct here in this grand jury at all, but because the Reverend Al Sharpton and a couple other race baiters say it is, and therefore it's true.
But wait a minute. Staten Island is a Satan borough. It's mostly white. There's a lot of cops who live there. It's the most conservative borough. How could the grand jury have been fair? And that's what you're hearing. That's
crazy, because we know that grand jury was mixed up with all types of different people there. Yeah. And there's a certain amount of people that got to vote for it. All right, they saw all the evidence. Everybody talking here, it's all speculation. All right, when I speak, it's based on my experience and what I'm seeing. Okay, I'm going with the grand jury. If the grand jury had indicted him, all right, I'd go along with the grand jury. You know, I wouldn't agree with it.
But it's the law.
But that's the way the law is.
All right. De Blasio basically has called his own police force racist. Not only racist now, racist to the point that he has to warn his black son about them, afraid he's going to get harmed by his own police force, and they've been racist for decades. Doesn't he have police that protect him and his family?
Is he worried about the cops that are protecting him and his family? I mean, does he sit there and look at the police officers that guard him every day, that are willing to put their life on their line for him? All right, looking at them that he can't trust them, or he can't trust them with his kids? I mean, Mr. de Blasio made the wrong statement the other day out there. He should be protecting his police officers, all right? He should obey the rule of law, all right? Listen, if the Attorney General wants to come in here and take a look at this,
that's his business.
Fine. I got no problem with that. I don't see any civil rights violation here. But like I said earlier this morning on CNN, What if Eric Garner was white? None of this would be happening.
None of it.
Right? What if the grand jury was all black?
None of it.
All right? Yeah, I think it still would have happened. If the grand jury was all black and he still got
okay.
and he was not indicted, they'd be calling them all Uncle Toms.
And there was a black sergeant on the scene, reportedly,
right,
a female black
exactly.
sergeant. Could she not have told them, don't arrest him, leave him alone? She actually said it didn't seem like he was struggling to breathe. Nobody has mentioned any of this.
Well, first of all,
we got about 10 seconds.
All right. First of all, you can't say I can't breathe when you're breathing at the same time.
Right.
I mean,
and they mocked you for that, but it's
they mocked me
absolutely
for that,
true.
But it's absolutely true.
All right. Great to see you, sir.
Thanks,
Harry Houck. I hope you'll come back. We're coming up next, folks. Don't go away.